Even moving back in the first place, I was poached by the bank here to
Yeah.
move
Where were
back to
you? Where
Nigeria.
were you originally?
I was in England. I was working with Euro Money magazine. Yes, so I was
That's a
poached.
nice. That's a nice
It was
gig.
yeah, it was decent. I traveled a lot.
Yeah.
I covered Africa, so I got to see a lot of what was going on in the other African countries, right? And it kind of hit me at that point that look, it's time to go home. There's a wave, and I wanted to be part of it. And it was happening within the agri sector, but in Nigeria, we're still focusing on the oil and gas sector. So I knew the time was right to move back home and join the sector.
Why did you choose Nasarawa?
So Nasarawa wasn't a choice per se. So immediately after I left banking, I tried to raise funds to create a fund for Agric. That was a failure. Let's just leave it there. So I decided to consult, and part of the consult was to consult for small farms who wanted to raise money for expansion. So the farm in Nasarawa was one of the farms I consulted for. Raised the money was $130 million, and it was guaranteed by Nursel, but we couldn't draw down on the money because of some missing documents. CBN wouldn't write a guarantee that they'll cover Nursel. So I lost all my traveling money sitting down with bankers, and I asked the owner of the farm to compensate me. And he said he didn't have any cash. So I asked, okay, look, let's 50-50 the farm. And he agreed. So that was sort of my first step into farming, and the location was already there. Right. So I just basically took it and expanded around with it.
Farming in Nigeria. When I look at your Instagram, it looks like all fun and games. I want to be a farmer. Is it all fun and games?
No, it's not. I'm paying the price now, actually. I'm paying the price because I was still telling Mira earlier on that the part most people don't see. So I'll give an example. So last year, for 6 months, I'll take a 1 hour 15 journey to the farm and a 1 hour 15 journey back from the farms, just sitting there anxiously, almost waiting to be attacked on the way. And doing that day in, day out for 6 months, when we get back from the farm, the first thing I do is pop my headache pills because I'm going to get a headache from the tension. And, down the line, you start dealing with anxiety attacks and things like that. That's the price you pay for farming in Nigeria today. And it's taking its toll on people. A lot of people go through these things and nobody knows. Nobody knows. It's very difficult. Every day you switch on the TV now, it's one person's been kidnapped on their farm or someone's been killed on the farm. And, it's just depressing. And I've paid a huge price for what I've been able to achieve.
Have you, for example, had any, security issues that have impacted on the farming? I'm not even going to go to the emotional issues. They're big. That is big. But in terms of actually even being able to carry on and do what you're doing at the scale you are doing it, how has security been a drawback?
Yeah, okay, so I'll start with an example. So I think it was 2016 or 2017 when 71 people were killed in Agatu in Benue. If you look, when they deployed the IGF police and the army, it was to Tunga, it was to my farm. So supposedly that's where the attackers took off from, crossed the River Benue and carried out the attacks. Now what happens is the reprisal comes in this direction. And then I'm also across from Wokari, which is a troubled community in Taraba. So every time there's conflict there between the Tiv and the Drikon, again, my farm is where they come. So it's very difficult for you to access funding and expand within such a scenario because then there's no guarantee of you recouping your investment, right? So those are the sort of challenges where you find yourself adapting to your environment and constantly re-strategizing every season just to stay in business. So instead of expanding on Nasarawa, I'd rather move location somewhere else and be flexible season by season, being able to move from one place to the other just to keep producing that same crop. But what it then does, it limits you in terms of your expansion on any one piece of land. That is the price we're paying now. And it's going to become even worse because it's now happening in every single state of the country where there's insecurity. Insecurity happens in the rural area where you have about 80% of the food we consume here, right, is produced in the rural area, right? About 90% of people you meet in the rural area are farmers. So anything that affects the rural area obviously affects your food supply. And that's the picture I don't think Nigeria gets at this very point where we are, is that whatever is going on in the rural community is going to affect your ability to feed. Back to what I was saying about strategy. So when we saw that that wasn't going to happen, I had to partner with the Nigerian army through the Nigerian Army Farms and Ranches to use one of the army land. They have about 3,000 hectares in Shandam in Plateau State. They're basically the largest landowners across the country because they've got a lot of land, right? So I partnered with them to produce on their land and do a profit split. And in turn, they gave me land and security. And that was the only way I could produce last year, right? We may do that this year, depends on what the future holds in the next 2-3 months. We don't know, right? But Nasara, because of the incident that happened, I mean, I think they killed about 8 or 9 soldiers about a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember the exact number now, but that's only in Nasara. That's in Kefi, and they said they now moved to the border between Nasara and Taraba or Benue, which is where my own family is. So there's no way I'm going to put money on the ground there without having full information as to what exactly is going on in terms of security.
In the short run, in terms of sustainability for your enterprise, for this remarkable enterprise that you guys have started, is there anything to be said for communities actually protecting the farms?
Well, I think for communities to protect the farm will require them to carry firearms. And that, again, is illegal, so they can't. Even if they could afford firearms, not the sort of firearms that these bandits are using. They're using JPMGs. The most a vigilante in the farm will be able to use is a 6-round shotgun, which does nothing. You see, so even if you did want to secure, they don't have the capacity to do so. Right? Even if the police wanted to intervene, they did not build the roads to do so. They do not have the right vehicles, the right equipment to do so. They don't have the right intelligence to do so. Same goes for the army as well. You see, how involved are they in the community across the entire country? It's a network. It's a network. People move from community to community to community. How present are you in those places to be able to secure? If we don't do that, then food security is going to be a huge challenge in the next 18 to 24 months.
Rotimi, why are you still doing it?
I think that's a stubborn nature. I believe in the project itself. I believe that Nigeria has to feed itself. I believe that when you start something, you must finish, because since I started, a lot of people have gone into agriculture watching, right? And that responsibility is on you not to quit and keep leading people, and with all the challenges, you also now have a voice to speak up and address some of these challenges. And that's what I'm looking at now, is how do we move from a point of just farming to advocacy to action? That position.
And the scale of farming you're doing is also quite, impressive. So therefore, you speaking so strongly about how much impact security has on what you're doing brings to the front of the front burner, because it's already on the front burner. These security issues need to be taken more seriously, and solutions have to become more ingenious going forward. And I don't know what solutions what would you be advocating?
Okay, so I believe that everyone also has a part to play, right? So last year, 2 years ago, right, I launched Resolute 4.0, which is just a basic panic alert app, right? And distributed it in the community in Basa local government in Plateau State, whereby in the villages, once you feel there's an imminent attack or ongoing attack, push the panic button. Immediately I get an alert of your name, your phone number, your location, and I push out to the army, and then the army moves in to quell whatever issues are ongoing. And in that period...
So that's the information bit you were talking about.
Absolutely.
Yes, in that period we've had about 215, 220 panic alerts. I've had just about 90 people killed, hundreds of houses burnt and hundreds of people displaced from their homes. In one local government alone, there were still 6 people killed 3 days ago. It's that bad, and all that information comes to me, you see, and we try as much as possible to draw the data from that so that the security forces understand better what exactly is going on in these places, time of attack, frequency of attack, point of attack, mode of attack. All that data is pulled out and given to them.
But Rotimi, going back to where Mira stopped, where is the hope for you? Show me where the light is.
Honestly, I think the size, the quantum of the issue we're dealing with is nothing that one corporate can deal with or one individual can deal with. I think the government itself has to realize the weight and begin to address it properly without allowing ethnicity, religion, tribe, whatever to come into their judgment.
Yeah.
Because if you look at what is going on in the Southwest, it's horrible. What is going on in the Northeast, Northwest is horrible. And these are the places where food primarily is produced and exchanged.
Right.
So by the time you have this divide, I'm a Southerner who farms in the North. If you're killing Northerners in the South, then how secure am I going into the North? Do you see? So there are a lot of questions that need to be asked, raised, and a lot of issues need to be dealt with. But I believe that the government itself has a huge role to play in terms of security. First of all, security. Without that, nothing else will work. So we need to deal with the security challenges. I think that's the key point for me. After that, anything else happen. No investment will happen if you can't secure it.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge I'm having now is where do I want to farm? Where is secure? I don't even care if it's conducive for rice. I'll make it conducive. Just show me somewhere where there's no conflict, where I can sit down. I'm not afraid of being kidnapped. I know that nobody will be killed, and I can harvest my rice in peace and take to the market.